He was the most cold-hearted captain, yet he fell headlong in love at first sight with the bride his subordinate had just married. One glimpse of her sunlit smile, and the ice around his heart shattered, and his dangerous vibe was catnip for a girl who'd always played by the rules. They struggled against the pole, torn between forbidden desire and crushing guilt. But once such feelings are acknowledged, how can only two souls be swept into the chaos? In 1990, on their first day of marriage, Lieutenant Bogdanov brings his wife, Katya, to report to a border outpost. Growing up together in an orphanage, they became soulmates with an unshakable bond, and now, husband and wife. Everyone in the outpost gives the newlywed couple a warm welcome. Except Captain Ogniev. Though his heart is enchanted by Katya, he still maintains a stern demeanor on the surface. In order to get her attention, he orders a ban on frivolous items like balloons in the serious ranks of the army. Reluctantly, Katya hands over the balloon symbolizing marital happiness to him. Unexpectedly, the captain cruelly releases it, letting it float away. However, this only fuels Katya's fear of him. She concludes he's difficult to get along with and mentally warns herself to stay far away from him. In the evening, the couple invites everyone to a dinner party. Only Ogniev doesn't show up. Knowing Ogniev's habitual solitude, the major specifically orders Katya to fetch him and liven up the gathering. Katya summons the courage to visit Ogniev's home, but no one answers. A glass bottle on the table glows under the moonlight. Katya can't help but admire the moonlight through it, oblivious to the way his gaze has been scorching her skin from behind, until Ogniev closes in. His flirtation sends her heart into her throat. Ogniev is no better. He crushes a glass in his hand, using the pain to suppress his desire. Katya panics and bolts. Thankfully, her upbeat husband quickly chases away her fright. The couple fall into their game, just like they've done since childhood. Since Katya graduated from nursing school with outstanding grades, the military district has assigned her to work at an orphanage, administering vaccines to the children. During a break, Katya tells the director that she and her husband both grew up in orphanages, as if they were destined for each other. Coincidentally, Ogniev comes to see the director on an errand. The moment Katya sees him, her smile vanishes instantly, and she hurriedly makes excuses to leave. But the journey back is too long, and there are no buses. Ogniev insists on driving her home, and her protests fall on deaf ears. The car ride stretches on in silence. Katya keeps her gaze fixed on the window, pointedly avoiding his eyes. Finally, Ogniev is the first to break the ice, mentioning there's a concert tomorrow night and asking what program she'll perform. His words sting like a reminder. Here comes another chance for us to meet. A wave of nausea hits her, and she hurries out of the car to vomit. Ogniev hands her a water bottle, but Katya refuses to get back into his car afterward, insisting on walking home instead. He drives away in anger, unaware that her stubborn refusal is her armor, the only way she can stop herself from falling deeper for him. The next day, the border guard unit hosts a gala concert and dance. Katya and her husband sway happily on the dance floor, lost in each other's arms. However, the moment she meets Ogniev's eyes, Anise crashes over her like a wave. Her husband thinks she's not feeling well and goes to fetch water. Katya begs him not to leave her, but has misreads her panic as a minor ailment, oblivious to both her fear and his love rival's lingering gaze. The instant Bogdanov steps away, Ogniev crosses the room in long strides, takes Katya's hand, and pulls her into a dance. Romantic music, ambiguous atmosphere. Katya struggles to rein in her desires, yet her heart craves the thrill of it, the closeness, the heat of his palm against hers. Ogniev sees right through her, but withdraws first, leaving before she can flee, like a hunter letting his prey catch its breath. A few days later, the troops began their combat drills. Katya's husband is horrified to find a mischievous boy playing in the line of fire, just when everyone is at a loss for what to do. Ogniev charges alone into the crossfire toward the child. As a nurse, Katya disregards the other soldiers, attempts to stop her, determined to carry out a rescue. Ogniev shields the boy with his body, taking the brunt of an explosion that knocks him unconscious. Thankfully, Katya arrives just in time to remove the boy and drag Ogniev to a secure area. Bogdanov watches through binoculars, worried, yet swelling with pride at his wife's courage. They are both fine, but Ogniev is hospitalized with serious injuries. By coincidence, the hospital loses power that night, When Katya comes to change his medication, he's reading a book by flashlight. His stare is brighter and hotter than the moonlight, making Katya so nervous she can hardly breathe. To distract him, she asks him what he's been reading. He smirks, reciting a lover's lines from the pages. His voice, smooth as whiskey, curls around the words, igniting a fire in Katya she can't smother. Before she can think, he's behind her, fingers brushing her shoulder. The instant his warm breath fans across her skin, every last defense she's built crumbles. That night, they surrender to their desires in a blaze of passion. The next day, the boy's mother visits the hospital to thank Agniev, only to find them tangled together in a deep sleep. Startled, she quietly leaves a basket of fruit and slips away. But keeping such juicy gossip to herself is torture. Eventually, she shares it with the director of the orphanage. To her puzzlement, the director warns her not to tell the others about it. It turns out the director has been secretly in a relationship with Agniev for years. Despite numerous men proposing to Ira, she's never accepted a single one. Her entire being is consumed by her obsessive crush on the dashing captain. But she hasn't learned the oldest lesson. Men are like matchsticks, easily lit, quickly burned out. After sleeping with Katya, the first woman he's actually cared for, Agniev is done with casual hookups. He formally proposes to end this secret relationship with Ira. Ira begs him hysterically not to leave, pouring out her deep love for him. She drops to her knees, bearing her pride completely, but it's all in vain. Agniev has no idea this decision will destroy the woman he loves deeply. Katya realizes her feelings for her husband are more like familial affection. With Agniev, she's felt true love for the first time. But suddenly, a wave of nausea hits her. At the hospital, she learns she's 2 months pregnant, with her husband's child. What a sick joke. She cries as she breaks the news of her pregnancy to Agniev. But he doesn't mind, insisting he'll raise the child as his own if she stays with him. But Katya sees it as fate's intervention. Determined not to deepen her guilt, she decides to sever ties with Agniev and return to her husband. Agniev is devastated. In a torrential downpour, he takes out his rage on the soldiers, driving them through brutal training drills. Meanwhile, Katya is also torn apart. Little does she know, the man will spend the rest of his life trapped in their short-lived romance. It's hard to call her decision wrong. After all, her husband does adore her fiercely. Even if it means trekking across mountains and rivers, Bogdanov will pick Lavender just to make her happy. When he returns home, he happily gives Lavender to his wife. However, Katya is out of control, keeps pleading with him not to leave, and repeats he's the one she loves, as if trying to brainwash herself. Bogdanov is completely confused, his heart aching at her tears, clueless about the storm she's weathering. 7 months pass in a flash. Katya gives birth to a healthy baby girl. When Agniev hears the news, he sends a soldier in his own large car to fetch them from the hospital. To make things easier for Katya, he even offers them his bigger, airier room and moves into their old cramped space himself. Katya takes the initiative to see him for the first time in months, wanting to say thank you. Though she's never truly let go of her feelings for him, reason and duty have always won out. Unfortunately, neither of them realizes this meeting will be their last. The orphanage director watches this scene, green with envy, and stealthily makes her way to Katya's kitchen. In the middle of the night, her baby seems to sense danger, wailing non-stop. Fearing she'll wake her husband, Katya takes the baby to the yard, where the major happens to be. When the crying doesn't stop for minutes, the major guesses the baby is hungry. So Katya leaves the baby outside for the major to take care of, and rushes to the kitchen to warm milk. As she strikes a match to heat it, a massive explosion tears through the air. Agniev can only watch helplessly as Katya and her husband are consumed by the flames. Afterward, Agniev sinks into a deep depression, shutting himself off from the world. The director reassures him that he shouldn't blame himself, that it was an accident. She'd hoped that with Katya gone, Agniev would come back to her. But her calculations are wrong. With Katya's death, something in him dies too, leaving no room for anyone else. In the end, Ira has no choice but to take her son and leave this heartbroken place. 20 years flash by in the blink of an eye. Agniev has long since left the military, now a powerful businessman with fingers in both legal and illegal pies. Despite the constant stream of beautiful women in his life, he can't shake the image of Katya in her wedding dress, radiant and alive. The explosion still haunts him. One day, a client lures him to a yacht for a deal, hiring a dozen stunning models to keep them company. Among them, Alla drinks herself into a stupor and misses the speedboat when the others leave. When she sobers up and stumbles on deck, only Ogniev remains. Desperate to become a top model, she tries to seduce the tycoon for sponsorship. Ogniev joked about destroying her. Terrified, she plunges into the sea, and he dives in to save her, unwittingly escaping the bomb his enemies planted on the yacht. The two of them are lucky to make it to shore alive. He warns Alla not to go to the police or return home. Once his enemy counts the models, they'll figure out she's with him, and she'll be dead too. Ogniev plans to fake his death and investigate the mastermind from the shadows. Unbeknownst to them, his enemy has already tracked down Alla's apartment. Her sister, who is staying inside, has become his prey. To survive, she has no choice but to flee frantically. Ogniev sets out alone to find help. On the way, he spots a girl who looks exactly like his beloved Katya, being chased by a thug. He sprints up the stairs to the rooftop. The battle-worn Ogniev grabs the thug and beats him mercilessly until he stops breathing. Masha is terrified by his brutality, her petrified expression mirroring Katya's in moments of fear. To ease her distrust, Ogniev plays a soft piano melody. Combined with his loving gaze and rugged sophistication, the innocent girl feels a thrill run through her soul, a shy smile curving her lips, just like the one that once stole his heart when Katya smiled. Worried about her safety, Ogniev insists on escorting her home personally. To his shock, the place she lives in turns out to be the house of Ira, the orphanage director. Meeting someone they had an affair with after 20 years, both of them are deeply astonished. The director tells him that Masha is the daughter of Katya and Lieutenant Bogdanov. After their deaths, Ira adopted Masha and another girl as her sister. Ira warns Ogniev to stay away from Masha, for she's currently engaged to Ira's son. However, Ogniev refuses to listen and is determined to take Masha away alone. With enemies hot on his trail, he fears Masha's life could be in danger if she stays. Gazing into the pleading eyes of the man she loves deeply, Ira finds it almost impossible to refuse. Meanwhile, Masha senses that there's something special between her adoptive mother and Ogniev from the way Ira complies with his every request. The next day, Masha sets off with Ogniev to hide at a friend's house of her adoptive mother. Heavy rain suddenly hits mid-journey, forcing them to take shelter under a bridge. Masha chatters excitedly about growing up in an orphanage, her vibrant energy making her seem like a reincarnation of Katya. Ogniev, overwhelmed with emotion, braves the rain to pick a persimmon for her. After her delicate bite, he smirks, closing his lips where hers had left a glistening mark. Masha begins to develop feelings for the mature man who is masterful at flirting. Hours later, they reach their destination. The hostess instantly recognizes Ogniev as the captain who saved her son from artillery fire, warmly chatting about their past at the outpost. Ogniev has no idea that it was this woman who leaked his affair with Katya, indirectly causing the tragedy. While the hostess is full of gratitude toward Ogniev, her son is anything but. Now a righteous police officer, he's dead set on arresting Ogniev for his involvement in the underworld. However, out of deference to his mother's pleading and Ogniev's past life-saving deed, he agrees not to act for 24 hours. Realizing that he could not stay here for long, Ogniev calls his men to falsify evidence of his death. When the enemies spot a bloated, waterlogged corpse, they assume Ogniev drowned at sea and let their guard down. Ogniev's men seize the chance to gun them down. After eliminating the threat, Ogniev lingers on Masha with his gaze, as she splashes happily in the sea with her sister. Though reluctant to part with her, he refuses to drag her into danger and slips away alone. When Masha returns and feels the absence of his warmth, she realizes he's become her breath, something she can't live without. She dashes out, trying to catch up with him. But the ship he's on has already vanished over the horizon. The thought of never seeing him again makes Masha feel like life isn't worth living. Ignoring her sister's cries, she jumps into the bottomless sea. Fortunately, her fiancé, Borya, arrives just in time to pull her from the water. The hostess, fearing Masha might repeat her mother's mistake and fall for the same man, tells it to her adoptive mother, Ira. Caught between her blazing love for Ogniev and her maternal protectiveness of Masha, Ira can't stand the idea of them sleeping together. She calls Ogniev, inviting him to her home for a talk. That night, Ira dresses up meticulously, prepares a table of Agniev's favorite dishes, and confesses her love to him with utter devotion. Despite a doctor pursuing her for years, she has always refused, because the only person she has ever wanted is Agniev. Her attempt to win him back is as low as she's ever felt. Just like the day she crawled at his feet, promising anything to make him stay, Agniev can't help but feel sorry for her life wasted because of him. He says he can give her financial support, but love is the one thing he can't give. Ira does not press further, only asking for a farewell kiss, which he grants. But then Masha, her fiancé, and her sister return. Witnessing the scene, Masha is consumed by jealousy. To get back at Agniev, Masha deliberately kisses her fiancé and flaunts their affection. Agniev forces a smile to congratulate them before storming off in his car. Yet his cold indifference, pretending not to care, nearly rips her heart out. Back in his apartment, he slams a chair to vent his fury. That's when Masha suddenly appears. She makes it clear that she can't shake him out of her mind and wants to run away with him. Only when Agniev appeared did she understand what love truly means. Her feelings for Boria are more like the love of family, forged from growing up together. Since Masha is so proactive, Agniev no longer resists. He asks her to say goodbye to her family and convey his apologies. The next day, Masha bluntly tells her adoptive mother that she's in love with Agniev. Ira slaps her, desperate to jolt her awake. She can't bring herself to reveal the sordid history with Agniev and her mother, only warning he's dangerous. But love-struck and naive, Masha can't see reason. Her sister urges her not to be impulsive, sneering that Agniev is old enough to be her father. But Masha, convinced they're jealous of her joy, grabs her suitcase and storms out in a rage. Masha's heart aches seeing her family in pain. She wonders if she's made a mistake. But the moment Agniev whispers sweet nothings or meets her gaze with adoration, all doubt melts away. She's convinced every sacrifice is worth it. She doesn't have the courage to face her fiancé, so she calls to apologize, admitting she's eloping with her true love. Boria is stunned, unable to believe what he's hearing. He even barges into the airport to intercept her flight, but they're ultimately strangers to fate. Witnessing her son's heartbreak and her adoptive daughter's defiance, Ira collapses from grief. When she wakes, she turns to the doctor who crushes on her for comfort. She vents that fate has been unfair. Why can't the man she's loved for decades return her feelings? The doctor sighs, confessing his own unrequited love for her. Man, let's face it, happy love stories are 1 in a million. Most of us, we're just out here getting kicked around by it, same as them. Agniev takes Masha on a flight to a Spanish island. For the first time, she tastes freedom, and every facet of him becomes a mystery she burns to unravel. He wastes no time ordering a wedding ceremony, decking the venue with obsessive precision. Masha, moved by his devotion, is certain she's found her soulmate, but she's clueless about the nightmare she stepped into. Agniev covers her eyes with the blindfolded, refusing to let her interfere as he transforms her into a bride. The moment the blindfold comes off, and there she is, Katya's twin in a vintage veil, lace trailing like cobwebs. Masha sneers at the dowdy look and wants to change it, but Agniev adores it and forbids any tweaks. He orders her into the vintage wedding dress and leaves to wait. But Masha, a modern fashion lover, hates its outdated style. She arrives at the ceremony in a sleek gown of her own choosing. Agniev gets very mad and plans to teach this disobedient little girl a lesson. He yanks her roughly into the room, snarling that she has 5 minutes to put on the white gown. Masha recognizes the dress as secondhand. She balks, but Agniev's iron grip leaves no room for protest. The bride walks down the aisle with a faint frown, a puppet in a ceremony she never chose. Agniev asks her to clutch a bunch of balloons that her mother took when she got married, and swears that he will never leave her. But what Kalyuzhnyy can't stand is when, on her wedding night, her husband calls her by another woman's name. She realizes that she's just a replacement. But the name he moans, Katya, it never occurs to her that the ghost he's obsessed with is the mother who gave her life. Unable to bear the shame, she plans to burn the wedding dress. But Agniev's slap lands before the first flame catches. Masha slams the basement door shut, locking out his screams. Obey, or D. Agniev roars, kicking the wood so hard it splinters. She curls into a dusty corner, every muscle rigid with terror. At this moment, Masha regrets not listening to her adoptive mother and is determined to escape from this possessive madman. One day, she sneaks to the shore to call her sister. At first, the sister is angry with Masha for not listening to her and insisting on marrying Ogniev, but when she hears her say that Ogniev hit her, she softens her heart. That's when Ogniev gets to her, and she immediately hangs up and changes the subject. Unbeknownst to her, Ogniev hears every word of the call. He wants to see what she's up to. On the other side, the sister tells Borya about Masha's unpleasant experience. Borya's heart fractures at the thought of Masha in pain. In an instant, he forgives her betrayal and decides to go to Spain to bring her back. His mother strongly opposes it, saying that Ogniev is a madman who plotted the explosion that killed Masha's parents. Borya can't possibly defeat him. However, Borya is even more determined to go. How could he bear to let the woman he loves stay with a monster? What they both don't realize is that this trip abroad will completely destroy his good life. Borya texts Masha to meet at the Abbey Gate that afternoon. Unexpectedly, Ogniev sees the message but says nothing, instead pointing out, "Your phone's ringing." After reading the text, Masha lies to Ogniev and makes up an excuse to go shopping in town. To her shock, her controlling husband agrees too easily. Moreover, instead of going with her, Ogniev sends his bodyguard to follow her. When the bodyguard let his guards down, Masha quickly runs off, not realizing that she's been set up. But as she races at breakneck speed, Ogniev materializes, blocking her path. She pretends to be calm and says she's lost. Ogniev is furious that she's trying to escape and decides to eliminate her helper. Ogniev storms into the abbey and unleashes a brutal beating on Borya. The Borya is a strong boxing champion. He's no match for the veteran's trained brutality. In mere rounds, Borya is knocked unconscious, his leg shattered by Ogniev's boot. Insurance he'll never take Masha away. Out of respect for his mother, Ogniev spares Borya's life and dumps him at a hospital. When Ira sees her son's broken body, grief twists into rage. She can't believe that the man she's loved all her life has done such a terrible thing to her son. She vows to make sure that Ogniev is punished twice as much. So she calls Masha and accuses Ogniev of killing her parents in an explosion. A saddened Masha asks Ogniev why he killed her parents. He coolly dismisses her adoptive mother's claims, insisting Ira is spreading lies out of jealousy, jealous that he chose Masha over her. To free her from the haunting of the second-hand dress, Ogniev confesses it belonged to his mother. He grew up in a military school and had never met his mother, so he wanted her to wear his mother's wedding dress to show that his mother was at the wedding. His sincerity moves Masha. She chooses to believe him. In the middle of the night, Ogniev bursts into Ira's home, screaming at her for slandering him. Ira rails at him for maiming her son, blaming all on his lack of love for her. It turns out Ira orchestrated the explosion that killed Masha's parents. She sneaked into the kitchen and sabotaged the gas valve, causing a leak. Driven by jealousy over Katya's place in Ogniev's heart, she harbored a desperate hope. If Katya were gone, maybe he'd finally turn back to her. Upon learning the truth, Ogniev is furious and rants about how Ira killed so many innocents. Her intense emotional state triggers an asthma attack, and she gasps for breath as she pleads for an ambulance. Ogniev turns away instead, leaving her to her fate. In his view, refraining from killing her personally is the utmost mercy he can extend. Thus, Ira dies of an asthma attack. Her love for a man who did not love her claims her life, leaving the doctor who loved her to weep bitterly. The doctor, struggling with profound grief, informs Borya of the death. Lying in his hospital bed, he loses not only his fiancée, but also his dearest mother. After calming down, Borya tells Masha all the tragic news. Tears instantly pour down her face. Masha had long regarded Ira as her own biological mother. Defying Ogniev's attempts to stop her, she insists on attending the funeral. But during a conversation between the police and the doctor, Masha overhears another shocking piece of information. Police suspect Ogniev may be involved in Ira's death, as someone saw him entering and exiting the premises that night. Masha's heart sinks. After all, she had confronted him about murdering her parents the previous evening, and he'd vanished without a trace, not returning all night. While sorting through Ira's belongings, a photo of Masha's deceased parents slips out. She is shocked to find out that she and her mother look exactly alike. Overwhelmed with questions, Masha hadgers her adoptive mother's friend for answers. The friend finally confesses that her husband once had an affair with her adoptive mother, but left her for her biological mother. Masha suddenly understands why Ogniev looked at her with such deep affection with their first meeting. It turned out that it was her mother he loved all along, and she was nothing but a replacement. Furious, Masha confronts Ogniev to break off their relationship. This is a death blow to Ogniev. He begs her to stay, admitting he initially saw her as her mother's double. But after all this time together, he insists he's fallen in love with the real her. She's the only one he sees now. However, Masha remains unshaken, saying that she will never be with the murderer of her parents. After taking off her wedding ring and throwing it back at him, she lets out the same harsh words her mother spoke years ago.
Я вас ненавижу. Я тебя ненавижу.
For the second time, Ogniev is abandoned by the woman he loves, sinking into endless despair. But misfortune hounds Masha. After leaving Ogniev, Masha discovers that she is pregnant with his child. Thankfully, Batyrev still embraces her and promises to take care of her for the rest of her life. Once Batyrev recovers from his injuries, he wastes no time marrying Masha, then returns to the boxing ring to earn a living for their family. 8 months later, Masha gives birth to a pretty baby girl. They never imagine that their every move is under Ogniev's surveillance. During Batyerev's championship interview, Ogniev learns that Masha has given birth to a daughter and instantly realizes the child is his. One day, Masha enters the hospital ward and is shocked to find the baby gone. She searches everywhere but finds no trace of her child, except for the wedding ring from her marriage to Ogniev lying in the cradle. She falls apart, certain that Ogniev has stolen their daughter, but utterly powerless to track them down. He used to be a cruel gang lord who treated human life as worthless. But after having a daughter, he turned into a doting dad completely wrapped around her finger. Not only does he crawl under the bed every day to play childish games with Ekaterina, but he also indulges her every whim. Despite this, Ekaterina still feels unhappy, believing that life is incomplete without a mother. Her father told her that her mother died in a car accident shortly after she was born. Little did Ekaterina know that this was a lie. In reality, her mother has now formed a new family with Batyrev and given birth to another well-behaved daughter. Yet Masha finds no joy or happiness in this. Deep down, she can never forget her eldest daughter and wonders where she might be. She's also tired of pretending to love Batyrev every day, feeling guilty toward her younger daughter. Every night, she dreams of Ogniev snatching her daughter away, tormented by the inability to save her. To soothe her, the sister takes her back to their late adoptive mother's house, recalling those carefree days. While sorting through childhood belongings, Masha finds an unsent letter written by her adoptive mother to Ogniev 27 years ago. The letter confesses her love for Ogniev and how jealousy drove her to sabotage the gas valve that killed Masha's parents. To add insult to injury, Masha discovers Batyrev read the letter long ago and knew the truth, yet he'd kept her in the dark. Only then does Masha realize she's been deceived. Ogniev was innocent all along. She was horribly wrong, having spent years treating her parents' murderer as her mother. Overcome with remorse, Masha appears on major TV stations to publicly search for Ogniev and their eldest daughter. Hiding on the other side of the globe, Ogniev sees the video quickly, but he won't allow anyone to take his precious daughter from him. Unable to forgive her husband's concealment, Masha leaves with their younger daughter and moves into her sister's home. The sister gifts the girl a beautiful doll and a globe, which sends Masha reeling in shock. Engraved on the globe is the vow she and Ogniev made at their wedding, in his unmistakable handwriting. The sister says she bought it from a boutique near Masha's house. At daybreak the next day, Masha rushes to the boutique. To her astonishment, there are 6 more globes in the same series, 7 in total when including the one her sister bought, and this exactly corresponds to the age of her eldest daughter, who is 7 years old. The shopkeeper tells her that every year a man came to put a doll and globe in the shop, but it was forbidden to sell them. Masha finds each doll's globe marked with different locations. Apparently, this is Ogniev telling her where he has lived. Eager to see her eldest daughter, Masha tells the sister she plans to set out in search. Sister urges her to call the police or take her husband along, warning that Ogniev is dangerous. But Masha refuses, claiming she can't trust them. Sister sees through the excuse at once, pointing out that Masha still harbors feelings for Ogniev. Masha doesn't deny it, and leaves her youngest daughter in her sister's care and departs alone. Unbeknownst to her, another woman is already vying to take her place. Katerina is very fond of her dance teacher and wishes she could be her mother. The teacher, in turn, is drawn to the mature and sophisticated Ogniev. However, he repeatedly turns a blind eye to her advances. After a week of traveling by plane and ship, Masha finally arrives at the tiny island marked on the globe. The intrusion of a stranger puts Ogniev on high alert. When he peers closer, it's the woman he's pined for 7 long years. A storm of emotions sweeps over him as he calls out Masha's name. At the sight of the man she both loves and hates, Masha faints away. When she regains consciousness, she finds herself imprisoned in Ogniev's basement. Tears stream down her face. She fights the urge to wrang their tangled past, begging only to see their eldest daughter. But Ogniev refuses flat out. "You didn't even tell me when you were carrying my child. What right do you have to criticize me for keeping our daughter now?" Masha apologizes, admitting she was wrong to doubt him. She recites love quotes from his favorite book, hoping to prove her feelings for him still linger. Ogniev's resolve softens, and they kiss. But as she tries to invade his fortress, he comes to his senses and pushes her hand away. Unforgiving of her past abandonment, he slams the door and storms out. As he exits the basement, his daughter stands at the door. Looking at her father's secretive behavior, Katerina's curiosity is aroused, and she wants to know what's in there. The next day, while her father is out, Katerina sneaks into the study, steals the key, and enters the basement alone. Masha instantly recognizes her long-lost daughter and pounds on the window, shouting in excitement. But the commotion scares Katerina away. Half an hour later, Ogniev returns home and finds the basement door open. A surge of dread hits him. He knows his daughter must have seen Masha. After a frantic search, he spots Katerina on a reef. He understands what's confusing and troubling her. After much deliberation, he doesn't want to lie and confesses to his daughter that Masha is her real mother. To their surprise, Katerina refuses to acknowledge Masha, declaring, "She means nothing to me." Worse still, Masha is heartbroken to learn Katerina wants her dance teacher to be her mother. The next day, the girl invites the teacher over under the pretense of her father's birthday, cleverly leading others away from the house. The teacher has long coveted Ogniev's body. Taking advantage of her drunkenness, she performs a seductive dance, hoping to strike a chord in Ogniev's heart. But Ogniev merely watches coldly, completely unmoved. The teacher finally decides to give up, yet remains curious about how he resists so many temptations. Before leaving, she asks him why he's so heartless.
Мне доставляет удовольствие получать удовольствие от тех, кого я люблю. А ты мне просто нравишься. Не более.
At night, for the first time in his life, Ogniev was angry with his daughter, blaming her for not arranging this. But he also understands that all his daughter wants is a mother who truly cares for her. What's wrong with that? At the same time, Masha knows she owes her daughter dearly. In order to get closer to her daughter, Masha accompanies her to the dance and makes Katerina laugh with her clumsy moves. Every night, Masha sits by Katerina's bed, telling stories and professing her love. Though Katerina remains distant, the ice between them starts to thaw. In the bathroom one night, Masha confesses her wrongs to Ogniev, saying she can't live without him. Looking at the woman he loves to his core, Ogniev can't bring himself to hate her. Under the rushing water, they give in to their long-suppressed desires. One day, Ogniev tells Katerina about Masha marrying another man and having another child. He leaves the choice to Katerina, whether to accept Masha as her mother. After much thought, Katerina remains torn. She envies her younger sister for having a mother's company, yet resents Masha for abandoning her father. To Katerina, her father is everything. She can't bear anyone hurting him. So she tells Masha to go back to her old life, rejecting her care. Heartbroken, Masha drags her suitcase to leave, only to meet Borya at the door. It turned out that ever since she left, Borya had been searching everywhere for her. After tracking them down, Borya called Interpol to report Ogniev for child trafficking. Ogniev has been arrested and is now facing imprisonment. Borya takes Masha's hand and tries to get her to come back with him. Instead, Masha slaps him in the face. She admits that she has wronged him and that she only loves Ogniev in her life, and tells him to go back and take care of his little girl. Katerina watches as her father is led away by police, then rushes into the sea in a panic. Ogniev fights the police and tries to jump in to save his baby girl. By the time Masha reaches the shore, the child is nearly submerged. She swims desperately and pulls her girl to safety. Unfortunately, Ogniev is shot in the abdomen during the struggle. He asks Masha to take their daughter and run away, but mother and daughter refuse to leave him. If you die, we die together. Followed by newfound will to live, Ogniev fights through the pain, crawls to his feet and leads them to a yacht. Seeing that Masha is on the verge of collapse, Katerina calls her mother and encourages her to stay strong. It seems that she has already accepted Masha, but who knows if this family's future holds happiness or more danger. This is Maroon Recap. Check out my homepage and you'll see more recaps of Nothing Happens Twice. I'm hastening to write and edit the next recap, so feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.